All right, hello, and welcome to Follow Up Boss Office Hours. Super excited to dig in today. We're going to be talking about onboarding and the onboarding process to Follow a Boss. My name is Lee Atkins. I'm your host, along with Tammy Draper. What's up, Tammy?
Nothing much. How are you, Lee?
I'm good. I'm excited to dive into this, and this was a topic that you picked, and I think it's an excellent choice. Why don't you run down maybe a little bit of what is kind of the Follow Up Boss onboarding?
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about kind of your background and history, then we'll share screen and dive right in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, onboarding at Follow Up Boss really is a series of three, four, five meetings together with everyone, and it's broken out into different sessions. And so, really, it's all about the first session and learning a little bit more about your business and really what you need to get out of Follow Up Boss and what your goals are for your business, so we can better help set you up. After that, we get more into the fun stuff, the nitty gritty of being able to set up those drip campaigns and your smart lists and things that will keep you on track. We also have a session in and of itself just for your teams to make sure that they understand the system and they understand the day in a life of a real estate agent, but also the day in a life of a lead itself. And then, sometimes we'll have that final impact call just to make sure that everything is set up properly and everything is running smooth for you.
Love that. Yeah, you got to have a good process for this. I mean, it really,
Sure.
we talked a little before we went live, like there are a lot of things, there are a lot of pieces to this, but also the order of it really matters, right? There are some things that are more important to do early and kind of fundamentally, and some of these things take a little bit of time. So it may be a function you need to start one of them, do some others. But we're going to take you through that process today in an effort. Number one, you can kind of redo some of this for yourself. We'll share some other resources and ways to do this. And Follow Boss also has an amazing amount. We'll share this at the end. Webinars that are ongoing that you can watch tied to some of these things. We've got a bajillion prior office hours to tackle some of these things. Um, so yeah, but before we dive in, Tammy, tell us a little bit about what you do at Follow Up Boss now and what some of your history, because it's super relevant, I think, to this topic.
Absolutely. So obviously, Tammy Draper, Follow Up Boss, I'm a customer success manager. So I specifically work with the flex teams now. I have just changed roles. So always learning, which is fun as well. But I came from a real estate background in regards to my father was a real estate broker. So since about the age of 4, I spent a lot of time in a real estate office. I spent almost 8 years, well, actually now 9 years in the software side of things, some on the multifamily side, working with property managers and big owners of multifamily. Spent 5 years at Yardi, so a lot of people know that name. So just really have learned a lot throughout those years, but also personally, I've closed on over 20 transactions of buying or selling homes in the 20 plus years. So it's just kind of in my blood. It's where
Awesome.
I'm meant to be.
You were pretty literally born into it then.
I was for
I
sure.
love that.
Yeah.
Cool. It's been great. It's been great getting to know you. We did a prior office hours that was a ton of fun, too. I'll drop some links to some of those. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive in. I think begin at the beginning, like what happens. And I think for purposes of this session, and you do what you like, Tammy, but I think for purposes of this session, maybe we just pretend that we're all brand new to this and like, what does this process look like? Kind of in an effort to think through. And something we talked about before as well, and we'll go deeper in a little bit later. Re-onboarding is always a great thing, you know. You want to talk a little bit on that first before we go into screen share, just the fact that, features change, like,
Absolutely. Yeah. So, especially if you have a dedicated success manager that can help you, long term, I feel that it is very important because so many things change, sometimes on a daily basis with Follow Up Boss. And yes, as you're in the system every day and using the system every day, you'll see some of those changes automatically, but there might be some things that you don't know about also. And it's always really good. I mean, January for us, we are crazy busy because the new year people want to, buckle down and make changes in their processes and things like that. So it's really important to include your software in that as well and just make sure that you're running it as efficiently as you can.
absolutely. And it also, something about this too, I think sometimes people think, and it is, there are a lot of things, But it's also key for this to be really simple as well, right? And kind of eat the elephant. And I know that's not always, the real estate agent MO, like they want it yesterday, and we got to do all the things. But again, setting this up will really will be a little more proactive and preventative instead of getting a danger message from follow up boss that our business registration isn't done or our DNS settings aren't complete. Just
Absolutely.
tackle those early. So let's just run down, I think, the process. And yeah, if you want to share your screen, we can go through that. We can hop in and out of product, whatever makes sense.
Yeah, so I will start actually with what we call our onboarding guide. And this is really what keeps not only us as customer success managers on track, but it also will keep the admins, the owners, even the agents on track as well. So I'll probably hop between screens just so you can kind of see where we go. But this is always going to be shared when you're a new onboarding client. We go through this with you, we share it with the customer. It's really nice because we now have a new pie chart, which will show us where we are in the process and what we have left, but also any action items. So yes, we do give you guys homework when you're being newly onboarded. So we like to list those action items here. But like I was talking about, we have like different steps of the onboarding process. And that first step is really just kind of learning about you and your business. We want to know about your goals, not only for the business, but what are your goals to get out of Follow Up Boss? So we spend 30 to 45 minutes typically just kind of learning about you and your team and where you've struggled in the past. And are you coming from another CRM tool? Where are your leads coming from? What kind of technology are you using that we need to make sure that we have the integration set up? So that first meeting is really kind of going over that, as well as talking about some of the homework that we're going to give to you. And so when we talk about things like that, we are talking about just your initial settings. So up in the right-hand corner, you'll have either your initials or your photo. One of the most important things is to go into that My Settings tab so we can make sure that everything is here and accurate, but you also want to make sure that you connect your email address. This is really going to allow you to not only email through Follow Up Boss to your contacts, but you can also use your standard email as well. And if they're a contact in Follow Up Boss, it will come over into that contact record, which is really nice. So that's normally one of the first things that we talk about. We also talk about your notification settings because there are many times that I'll get an email saying, "Hey, I'm not getting notifications for a lead or, notifications for this." So I always like to point out this little bell up here. If you go into this settings wheel, this is a really good place for you to make sure that whatever type of notification you want to get for each of these events, that you have chosen the correct ones. And I always tell you as well that you want to make sure to do that on your Follow Up Boss app on your phone. Make sure those notification settings are turned on because when you get text messages through the Follow Up Boss, it's coming into the app itself. So you need to make sure to get those notifications. Couple other things that we talk about under the admin tab. We have what's called the business registration. And this is actually a carrier requirement, a cell phone carrier requirement. This is super important because it allows you to text through Follow Up Boss. And so this can sometimes take some time. So I recommend doing it sooner versus later, but it's really just legitimizing your business. It's going to ask for your EIN number, your website, all of your company information. But what they're really looking for is on your website that when people fill out any of your contact forms, there has to be that opt-in language there. That is what's allowing you to text through Follow Up Boss. Also, you want to make sure that you have a link to your privacy policy. That privacy policy has to state that you're not going to be sharing their data for promotional purposes. So these are things that this business registration will check for, and that's why it can take some time. So we do recommend you get that done early. And then one of the other homework topics that we talk about is your email domain authentication. And so again, under the admin tab, if you go into more and email domain authentication, this will actually pull in from those email addresses that are connected in Follow Up Boss. So it's going to pull any domains that are connected to you or your team. You want to claim that domain. And basically, this is going to help with your email deliverability. You want to do it for your main domain for sure. And then obviously, if your team has a different domain, you're going to want to make sure to do that also. It really just will help to prevent the spam and junk mails from your emails going to spam or junk.
I really should finally go ahead and connect this account. It's embarrassing every time we go here and it's not done. But this is a true demo account. It's even connected to a made up Gmail demo
Yes.
thing. But
Absolutely.
I should set a good example.
Yes, exactly. So that's really kind of a big portion of that first call that we have is, obviously learning about your business, but just making sure that you are set up for success from the get-go and making sure that none of those steps are missed. Now, if I take this onboarding guide and I scroll down a little bit, obviously we can set those dates up for you. These dates are completely flexible. Our goal again is just to get you up and running as fast as we can. Now, as soon as you set up an account with Follow Up Boss, you really are ready to go. So you can get in there and use the system right away. But we also like to make sure that it's set up for you properly.
And there's also a bit of a wizard. If you're newer, there's a bit of a wizard inside. It kind of keeps reminding you, like, hey, check your email. Hey, get the app. Some emails come from Dan and Megan that remind you to do some of these things. So, and I just dropped two quick links in the thing. We don't need to pull them up on screen, but I grabbed, there's two really good Follow Up Boss help articles. One is kind of a general getting started, and one is more of an onboarding that has several kind of options to re-onboard. So I'll include those here, and I'll also send those out with the recording of this because I think those are really key articles, either short videos or checklists or links to each of these things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you'll see here, this is a checklist. And like I said, it keeps us on track as CSMs, but it will also keep you and your team on track. What I love about this is we can mark it as either assigned or that we've discussed it or it's completed. And if it just doesn't apply to you and your team, we can put in the NA as well. But some of the things that I talked about already, filling out your business registration, that's always super important. So we just work our way down the list. We mark it off as you've completed it. We talk about, things like your team roster and do you want your team to be notified right away? Because what we can do is import that team roster for you. And we just kind of add ones to those email addresses if you don't want them to get that notification right away. So we do, definitely get into the nitty gritty during these first several phone calls. We also want to make sure that we've set up all of your lead sources and that the lead flows are going to come over properly. We want to make sure that we know about your website and connecting the pixel to your website, which is going to bring over that activity that's going on your website so we can pull over those leads as well. So again, you can just kind of see that there's a reason we don't do this all in one call. There's definitely a lot to it. And this is just, it really has helped our team a lot in regards to keeping everybody on task.
Yeah, we use something really similar. It's really great. And Tammy, I know we talked about this before we hit go, but like a lot of these things do either take time or there's a few steps or things like that. So it's really important to have these little kind of statuses, for lack of a better term, however you do it. It could just be a piece of paper or a Google Doc or whatever. But just this idea that, like, okay, we started the business registration, but now we're waiting for it to get approved to do the other thing. So for better or worse, there are steps to this. And I just wanted to add to something you said earlier, like not only is this a lot of stuff, if you're newer to the platform at that point, you're also like, okay, I'm also just learning the terminology, the whole glossary tied to all of it, what's going on, what happens when I do this. Um,
Yeah.
so we get that, but that's also why we're doing this session.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, I mean, speaking of things like terminology, I mean, we're throwing out words like the pit, stages, tags, smart lists, right? And so that's definitely part of that onboarding is we will talk about the smart lists, which are essentially your daily to-dos. These are going to tell you who to call and when to call them. We walk through the different filters and how to see what is bringing those contacts into each smart list, because each smart list has its own set of filters. Obviously, we talk about the fun stuff, setting up your drip campaigns, which we call action plans. And how do you get those action plans to go out automatically based on the trigger point? What has changed with that contact that will kick off those action plans? So we do talk about, this is all stuff that we go through during this onboarding process. And you can see there's a lot of different tabs within Follow Up Boss. And so that onboarding guide has really kind of kept us on track. I
You know
did
what?
see,
I'll throw this in really quick. We did a session recently. I believe it was more on like how to audit your account,
Mhm.
but it's the same idea. In essence, I think Paige and I believe I did it with Paige. I think
I was.
we went a little, we jumped around a little more than we said we were going to. But point is, like, even just working this admin panel from kind of left to right kind of does this anyway. Like those are the things that you need to get to. Unfortunately, a few of the most important things are at the end because you don't need to do them all the time, like the business registration, the DNS. Like once you do it, you've done it. They don't need to be first and foremost in this menu. But another great tip for doing this, besides the articles we just shared, is just go into admin and work left to right. Like look at your lead. Is this lead flow doing what you need it to do? Tammy, can you do me a favor? Lead flow is not the best example, but let's click on lead flow just to show that pretty much everything. Now watch, it won't now that I said it. Yeah, the how lead flow works. Like there, almost every page is gonna have a video. Like yeah, right there, or at the top right, there's a little how lead flow works button. Every feature in Follow Up Boss, of course, I'm going to say this, we're going to run into one that doesn't, has a little button or the little eye circle thing where you mouse over it or click on it. It brings you to exactly to a thing just about that thing. So if you're not checklisty people, you can just do that. And once you get to the end, you'll have done all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we do have, typically one or two, we call them configuration calls. And really, it is doing exactly that. We go into the admin tab and we work our way from left to right, just so everybody understands everything that's fully available to them. Because as you can see, there's a lot. What's the difference between groups and pawns? And I saw a chat pop up about Follow Up Boss phone numbers and, what are those? And so we go into exactly what all of this is. And just so you know, Follow Up Boss phone numbers are really just kind of your new business line that's going to allow you to call and text through Follow Up Boss. It will automatically pull that information into that contact for you. So yeah, I mean this is probably the biggest call in regards to just making sure that everybody understands how to set all of this stuff up. Obviously over here you can see that we even have more, not just what you can see on that initial screen,
Right.
but we will also get into things like the pixel. Like I said earlier, if you have a website and you have those contact forms, you want to be able to pull that information and those contacts into Follow Up Boss as well. So you can create the pixel and put that coding on your website to pull that information over. But you can also see that we have a lot of direct integrations, which is really nice. And so that's part of that first call. We want to know who your integration partners are, because if we don't have a direct integration with them, possibly we can connect it through an API. So we'll talk about the API keys. So it's really just a process of really learning what it is that you need and how we can help you set up.
Absolutely. And I just want to say this, and again, I know people don't love this, but like this is a little bit iterative, meaning that like get it best you know now. And then as things happen and as new features come out and things like that, like you're always going to go, oh, cool. I watched a webinar on using groups. Now I'm going to start to use groups with my lead flow. This is by no means about, Tammy, we've both used this product for a good while. I've been 12, 13 years on it. And it just, there's going to be changes. There's going to be cool new features that come out. But I think what we're talking about here largely too is just having your core things. Now you're not missing notifications. Leads are coming in. Any integrations you're using are connected. Your settings are right so that you don't get blocked by spam filters or carriers or any of that crazy stuff. So I just want to kind of re-emphasize that. Like in some sense, it's a lot, but in another sense, it's really important and fundamental, just like the fundamentals of real estate. We do want to get this set it and forget it. Most of you probably aren't nerds like Tammy and I that want to sit and play and follow balls all day. You probably want to go sell some houses. So just
Absolutely.
there's my little preaching for the moment.
Yes, absolutely. And again, I mean, I feel that's why onboarding is so important. And it's really important to make sure that you don't miss any of those calls because each call is so different, but each call is also so important in regards to making sure you are set up for success. Because the last thing we want is for you guys to sign up for a follow-up boss and then just let it sit there and not do anything for you. There's so many, you probably remember me saying the pit. There's so many things like that that we talk about. If agents would just do their pit every day, checking their people tab, which are your smart lists, and checking your inbox and your tasks, things like that. That's really what's going to set you up for success and making sure nothing slips through the cracks. Obviously, if you're letting stuff slip through the cracks, you're leaving money on the table. And so that's really why these calls are important, is because we do not want that to happen. I'm going to talk a little bit more, just kind of go through a little couple other things. As you can see here, these are set up into different groups. So we talked about that original phone call, which we call the kickoff call. The admin tab, that's where we get into some of this configuration stuff. So, talking about things that are important like your stages, because some people don't understand the difference between maybe stages and tags. So we talk about, how stages are really where is that client today in the buying or selling process versus a tag is giving you that little bit of extra information about that buyer or seller. Things like zip codes. Do they want a certain school zone? Do they want a swimming pool? Things like that are going to be your tags. We also obviously go through part of the people tab is your smart list and what causes people to go through those smart lists. So there's really a lot to talk about within each step of the process. And you can see that like this configuration step 3, that there's a lot to cover in that step. So
And speaking of newer features, time frame is not in there yet, and now that kind of ties back to stages and tags and all the
yeah,
things. So, case in point.
absolutely. And then obviously something super important is you want to get your contacts in the system, right? So whether you've had another CRM tool in the past, or even if you just have an Excel spreadsheet that has maybe 500 contacts, we talk about the importing and we want to do kind of like a mapping because we need to know if you're coming from KV Core, it's going to be different than if you're coming from Brivity because each company, each other CRM will have completely different columns that we're mapping over into Follow Up Boss. So we do talk a lot about, the importing and the mapping and doing that deep export from your last company so we can make sure we get as much information over into Follow Up Boss as possible. And then if we have that 5th call, we really get more into the reporting side of things because obviously we want you guys in the system and using it, but we want to be able to hold you accountable as well. And so that's really where we talk to the owners and the admins on how to hold their teams accountable. I will talk about also each call. We like to create our notes section. This is also a great place for you guys to be able to ask your questions. You will have access to this document when you're doing your onboarding. And so you can ask questions to your CSM as well. And that way we can make sure to cover that on the next call. And then on the very last page here, we have some amazing resources. So I always like to show you the Help Center. So when you are in your Follow Up Boss account down in this right-hand corner, there's this question mark. You can get so much information from this question mark. It will take you to the Help Center. So if you type in anything that you're looking for, let's just type in action plans. It will pull in all kinds of information that you can go to, either things that we have created as documents, but also you can see, other teams have done interviews about action plans. Sometimes office hours videos will pop in here. So things like that are super important, but also you can join our Facebook community right from that question mark. And if you haven't yet, I strongly recommend joining this. Almost 25,000 members. It's a very active group. If you have questions, they're very responsive and will answer your questions. But also, if you're just searching for certain information, you can see what other things have been posted as well. So all
Awesome.
of those
Yeah, I
things.
just dropped a link to the Facebook group too, because I was mentioning tons. You can search in there for onboarding as well. What other people are doing, what when somebody had a question about some onboarding. And also I wanted to mention that largely all these, I'm so glad you went there. All these resources are also in that question mark. In essence, there may be one of them I see now that's maybe not there, but and then actually, if you don't mind going back, Tammy, let's re-show that unified search. Like I know you went through it, but like I love this so much because now this pulls in YouTube videos, it pulls in articles, it pulls in a lot of different things, and people learn in different formats. Like I like to read the articles or watch a longer video. But some people would rather watch a webinar on somebody else's thing or watch the 2 minute quick tip video on what is a smart list. This is just a fantastic, fabulous way to find an unbelievable amount of content in whatever format or length. It even has little timestamps there. It shows you like this is a 37-second video. This is a 1 hour webinar. I
Yes.
literally cannot recommend this enough. I wish they had this 13 years ago when I was trying to figure out how all this stuff worked. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, and like I said, there's so much information in here. Very seldom can I stump our help center and type in a subject that I have not been able to find the answers to. So it's very, very thorough. And, if by chance you do stump it, if you can't find it there, I bet you can find it in our Facebook community or even on our YouTube channel. So there's just a lot of good information there that you can look at. Product updates is another one. It's really nice to kind of be able to see what are some of the newest changes, and so you can hop right into our product updates, and it will obviously show you anything new that has come up recently. So that question mark is a savior for not only us as CSMs, but you as teams as well. It's also your way to reach out to support. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I literally use it all the time. I mean,
Me too.
constantly. It's great. And
Yes.
those articles do get updated. In fact, they even say at the top, like this was updated 4 days ago or 5 days ago. They do get updated and they are very current. So highly recommend.
Absolutely.
Love it. All right, cool. And great questions in the chat. I'm answering some there specifically. Um, Sorry, I'm trying to keep up while also thinking and paying attention. And like I said, I'm also still going to send those two articles that I dropped in the chat, the bigger getting started and the onboarding options. Um, so yeah, in fact, we've got a couple of quick questions. I'm going to answer them because now a few people have asked them, so I'm gonna tackle them. I think just live. People asked about the level of access, like owner versus admin versus agent. Particularly, one of the questions was potentially having multiple owners. Unfortunately, not a thing in Follow Up Boss, but the case was made in this case, and I've seen this a lot, where the owner is sometimes like the team leader or somebody who's not as active in Follow Up Boss. There's two things I would recommend. I mean, number one, there's a few things you can only do in the owner login, like changing stages, some high level settings and
Automations.
power ups, custom fields. Um, the best, you cannot have two owners. So the best solution is either you can change the owner login because frankly, the owner, and I know this is a little bit off topic, but I think it's also really relevant. And two or three people just asked. A lot of times the owner account, the email of the owner account will get certain notifications like if you're about to be in texting jail, or if your business registration isn't done, or if something, a lead couldn't process. So it's pretty important the owner account email does go to somebody who is a little more admin minded to go, oh no, this lead didn't process, instead of, oh, I didn't see this in the 500 other emails about other things. But and the owner, well, I don't know if I should say this. Contact support if you need to talk about owner changes. You'll need permission from all the right parties. But the owner account does have specific permissions. There's only one way um, to do that. But really, really great question. But I would either swap that person out. Some people use like a group email address in that one, so multiple people can get notified. Um, there are workarounds, for sure. And yeah, I'm gonna stick with that and answer the rest in the chat. And Tammy, I'll let you take us out. Any last advice or words of encouragement or anything else you want to show that's
Yeah, I think honestly, the most important thing is when you sign up, you're signing up for a reason. You had that initial reason and that initial goal to get something done. So definitely stick to it. Make sure that you are doing your onboarding. Make sure that you are learning as much as you can in the beginning, because what we like to do is basically make sure that we can automate as many of your daily tasks as possible. So all you do have to do is come in here and do your pit, your people, your inbox, your tasks every day. And you should be able to get it to the point where 30 minutes a day, you're able to get through your smart list and have contacted all of those people that you're supposed to contact. So I think it's just really important that when you join, stick to it. Don't give up. Make sure you reach out to support or your customer success manager if you do need help. That's what we're here for. We want you to be successful. I have heard so many times from so many clients, oh my gosh, I wish I had known this was so easy. I wish I had known about this years ago. It has increased my business by this much. It really does. It will make a world of difference in your business. So please just take the time to get that onboarding done and reach out to CSM or support if you need help.
absolutely love it. We'll send this recording out probably later today. I'll include some of those links. Tammy, thank you. This was great. Hope you guys learned some stuff. We'll see you
Thank you.
soon.
Bye bye.